everybody, it's Becky here with video 29. That's Patterson again. And I hope you are having a great Thursday and you are doing a great job. I'm closing out week 9 and you are on that journey and doing a great job. So just keep with it. We can do it. We can. I'm coming at you today with an exercise that I'm sure several of you, if not all of you, know, called playing the opposite. And I love this for a scripted rehearsal and work. So let me just kind of review where in a non-pandemic environment, I would typically use this exercise when I'm working with students on monologues, if I'm doing a class production, or if I'm doing an actual show. And when I'm doing it in those situations, I do it when rehearsal has gotten stale. Okay, so when we've become a little too comfortable, when everything is a little too practiced, and it's not zhuzhing, it's fine, it's good, but it's not where it needs to go. And what I've discovered, and I'm sure you have too, is that students very easily go to an all good or an all bad mentality, right? With their characters, right? If they're the villain, everything is evil. If they're the heroine, everything is heroic. And so they're missing a lot of the shading, right? Which makes us real as humans. And so what happens in rehearsal is if I was running this, let's just take it from a rehearsal after school, the way that I would work, we're at an off book point, typically when I get here. And this is, maybe the week before tech, you're at that process in rehearsal. And so I run rehearsal and I say, okay, you have to do the blocking exactly the same. As far as entrances and exits, not necessarily gestures. And your lines have to be exactly the same. You cannot change the lines, but you have to play the opposite emotional meaning to everything you do. So working on the opposite motivation, the opposite tactic, the opposite beat, the opposite subtext, all of those things. So if a character enters and is running to their lover who they have missed and have, just are so glad to see them, they still enter and run, but when they're going to their lover and they're still saying the same lines, but they would be playing that with apathy or playing that emotionally like they hate the person. In rehearsal, this brings a tremendous amount of laughter, right? Because we find things, but it also is like a gold mine for helping students find that there's more to a character than the obvious, right? And they begin to find subtle shadings. And so we will have discussions after rehearsals or after a scene. Like I'll stop a scene and be like, oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you feel that? And they're like, oh, that was Miss Schneider. Can I add that? And so you do those things. Okay. So that's how it plays out in a non-pandemic world. In the pandemic world, what you would do for an asynchronous or synchronous task is have the students, so we'll talk asynchronous first, have the students take their script and write. They're not rewriting the lines. The text is always the same. You're not changing a playwright's words. Copyright. Okay. So text is the same, but have them identify the opposite emotional reaction or response or thought to what the line is. So if the line is, I love you, and it's meant affectionately, truly in the script, then they would be writing out, for line 7, the I love you line, it's there. Let's say this with hatred. Okay. And have them find those things. You can do that. So that would be the written portion. If you want to do written, you could actually ask them to just perform line reads instead of writing it all down so every line read, have them record them with the opposite emotional intensity or the opposite motivation or subtext. Okay. So that's asynchronous. Synchronous, really fun breakout rooms or live class, and run a rehearsal that way, or have them give the reads, have the others in the class give feedback on that and be like, that worked, or, you're just laughing. Such a great activity. It's really fabulous. A scaffolding one to take this, right, is to really have the students write about or reflect about in an oral form, what they're going to keep and why it worked, and where they want to go with that exploration and what they discovered. And again, it's just a way to find shading, right? We're not black, we're not white, we're gray. And why are we gray? Or I like to say it in theater, we're not black, we're not white, we're all lovely shades of purple, right? So just finding the shading of who they are. And so it's a great one. That is typically a longer thing also. And you can do this with, I've done this with 7th grade students on their monologue work, right? And I'm like, okay, do that monologue now, but this time do the whole monologue in the opposite way that you were doing it. And so it works for every grade level, but of course the scaffolding possibilities with this are endless, particularly particularly with your upper grade levels. Hope that helps. I'll be back at tomorrow with video 30, which should be Friday. And you know, I love me my Fridays. So hope you're having a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.